Hello everyone, this is Shannon from Not So Po, and today I'm doing week 41 of my 2022 reads. This week I read a few different books, all of which really centered around women, and that was wonderful. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. First, I finished Women Talking by Miriam Toews. This is a book that I buddy read with Cynthia at Book Whimsy and Kazen at Always Doing, who I will link below, both of them, but Kazen did end up DNFing this halfway through, although Cynthia and I finished it. This is a book that all of us had been kind of interested in. It's got a really interesting premise, and I think that it's actually quite good for buddy reading because there's quite a lot to discuss. It is based on some true events that happened around 2005, 2010, where in a Mennonite community, there were years of rapes by the men of the community, of the women of the community, where they would basically knock them out with some like horse anesthesia and then rape the women at night. And the women had been waking up for years being like, I've got issues, or I'm pregnant, or I'm bleeding, or whatever. And the men of the community were like, oh, the demons are, kind of punishing you for your bad womanly ways, these sorts of things, and just dismissed them until finally the men were caught. So that's what this is based on. And in this story, the women of the community are having a conversation. They're trying to talk and decide what they want to do because these rapists, these men, have been taken away by the police, but the other men of their community have gone to bail them out and bring them back. Many of the women are just like, okay, well, I guess this is our life, so we'll deal with it. But there's a group of women who decide, no, we either need to do something, fight to change our system, or we need to leave. And so they're having this conversation. The interesting thing about this story is that it is told from a male perspective, August, who is invited to come with the women and take minutes of their meeting because the women are illiterate, and he's somebody who for many years was outside of the colony and has come back in, and he's a little bit different from the other men. That is a very interesting choice. I think that all three of us really struggled with August as the narrator. He was quite annoying at many times, really inserted himself into women's conversation, these sorts of things. I think that there was definitely some reason for that framing, but I don't know, Cynthia and I got to the end of the book and we're like, I don't know if that quite justifies it. I don't know if that's quite enough for us. But the conversations that the women were having were really philosophical, really talking about like theology, talking about what it means to create a community that they want to be in, all these sorts of things. So really interesting ideas. The writing was also very intriguing, really just unique style of writing, and has lots of layers, lots of parables. I didn't get all the parables, but definitely talking with Kazen and Cynthia helped a little bit. So yeah, really interesting book, but the content in this is majorly heavy, as you can tell from just the topic of it. So check out the content warnings if you want more details. And that narrator choice was so strange for me. So overall, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Wash Day Diaries by Jamila, illustrated by Robyn Smith. This is a graphic novel, contemporary, that is basically following 4 friends, 4 women, who are having their wash days, so just doing different things with their hair, kind of handling braiding or new hairstyles or whatever. But it's also following their lives and the issues that they're facing. So relationship stuff, career stuff, family stuff, and each of these women is just in a slightly different spot in her life and dealing with different things. I also think that the way that the 4 storylines kind of tie together felt really natural. They have a lot of text conversations with each other, meetups with each other, these sorts of things. And so it just follows them throughout this day, follows what's going on in their lives, and really talks about the issues that are important to them. The illustrations in this I thought were fantastic. I absolutely loved the way that it was drawn. I loved the colors. I loved how each of the girls was kind of illustrated, and all of the different body types and hair types and all these sorts of things. So it was really beautiful to read. There was a little bit more like relationship drama, especially in the first half in some of the different storylines, than I prefer. But other than that, I thought this was really fantastic, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And if you're interested in hearing even more about this, Olivia-Savannah at Olivia's Catastrophe did a whole reading vlog with this, so I really recommend that, and I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. And lastly, I read Relationship Goals by Christina C. Johnson. This is a contemporary romance novella, I believe, it's quite short, that is really like a fun premise. So this is a book that I picked up because a couple of months ago, earlier this year sometime, Cynthia at Book Whimsy and I buddy read Black Love Matters, which is an anthology of essays all about Black romance, and Christina C. Johnson had an essay in that was really good, and I thought, let me read something by her. And so I went and found an ebook that sounded interesting to me. So the premise of this is that there is a woman who is like a magazine editor, and she's also like a big kind of social media influencer type person. She's got this whole wellness focus on health, mental well-being, all these sorts of things. So she's got a big following. And she's in an airport and ends up stopping to help a guy who had coffee spilled all over him, and they like immediately have this just instant chemistry, and he ends up kissing her. And somebody catches a photo of this, tags it relationship goals, posts it on the internet, and then people recognize this heroine, you know, because she's this big social media influencer, and it goes a little bit viral, and everybody's like, oh my God, who is this, you know, the guy, and all these sorts of things. And so they end up kind of reconnecting randomly after this through this photo, and find out that they actually kind of are interested in each other, and they start up this long distance relationship, and really have to navigate a lot of different aspects of their lives. So I think that the tone of this book is just really sweet. The characters are both like really great people. The heroine is somebody who's just very much trying to live a good life, right? She's trying to do what's right. She's trying to make good choices. She's trying to have a positive influence on things. And the guy is like a really kind, kind of sweet guy who is just very much trying to overcome some of his own issues. He's got sickle cell anemia, and he's got a lot of health issues, a lot of chronic illness, has dealt with some issues with that in relationships in the past, and so overcoming that, and just them coming together is a really sweet story. I do think that at the beginning there's just a little bit more drama, a little bit more kind of like emotional overreactions to things than I prefer, but I loved how the peak of the conflict in this story towards the end is totally external to the relationship. There's just a lot of things that the characters have to deal with in their lives, and that comes to a peak, and I really, really liked that. So yeah, overall I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely read something else by Christina C. Johnson. Okay, so that is everything that I read this week. If you guys have read any of these, if you're interested in them, you want to chat with me about them, or if you want to tell me what you've been reading this week, I'd love to hear from you. Just leave me a comment down below.